Good morning, everyone. This Shabbat in synagogues around the world, we will take out not one Torah from the Ark, but two, because we will have a special reading in honor of Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the first day of the month of Nisan, which will actually be on Sunday of this coming week. You see, when the Jewish people left Egypt, the very first commandment they were given was to establish a Jewish calendar based on the cycle of the moon, known as the lunar calendar. And the opening verse of the reading in the second Torah, this Shabbat, will begin with the statement of HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. This month shall be unto you Rosh Chadashim, the head of all the months. Rishon Hu Lachem, it's the first one for you, L'Chadshei Hashanah, for the months of the year. And there are three questions on this verse. The first thing is, the second half seems to be a complete repetition of the first half. The opening verse says, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chadashim, this month shall be the first of the months. And then it concludes the verse by saying, Rishon Hu Lachem, it's the first for you of the months of the year. Why say the same thing twice in one verse? The second question is, it says, HaChodesh Hazeh, this month shall be for you the first of the months. A rabbi said, whenever the Torah says Hazeh, it means that God actually pointed to something. What did God point to? And finally, why does the verse have to say, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, this month shall be unto you? It could have just said, HaChodesh Hazeh, this month is the first of the months. And our rabbis beautifully say that God took Moses outside at night on the first day of the month, as the moon was beginning to shine, and he pointed up to the heavens. And he said, you see that moon up there? HaChodesh Hazeh, this renewal of the moon is Lachem unto you, the first of the month. And what God was saying was not only establish a calendar based on the lunar cycle, but you should know that the Jewish people will always be like the moon. How are the Jewish people like the moon? And why was God pointing at the moon at the beginning of the month? And so there are three answers. The first answer is that just like at the end of the month, the moon is invisible, it disappears from the sky, so too there will be times in Jewish history where the world will think that the Jewish people will cease to exist, God forbid, that the light will stop shining. There will be moments where the Jewish people will suffer such a decline, like the moon that waxes and wanes. We will become so small that the world will think that the Jewish people have faded from history. But suddenly, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, this power to renew ourselves, to come back into existence, like the moon, which at the end of the month is not seen, but suddenly the moon starts to shine once again. It becomes once again reborn. The Jewish people will defy all the pundits of history and always have a return, a renewal, and our light will grow like the moon each and every month. The second way we are like the moon is that the moon doesn't reflect its own light. Unlike the sun, the moon is a reflection of the light of the sun. And so too, as a Jewish people, we recognize that our mission in this world is to reflect the light of God in this world. That our light emanates from its source, from Hashem. And finally, the third explanation why we are like the moon is because, of course, the moon illuminates the darkness. And the Jewish people specifically, in the darkest periods of history, will be a moral light unto the world. Yes, we're the smallest of all nations, but as Andrew Jackson said, one person with courage is a majority. Our numbers may be small, but our courage, our faith, and our steadfast clinging to God, even in the darkest hours, will be a light unto all the nations. And in the darkest times, we will illuminate the path. And all of these three lessons are very relevant for these days after the tragedies of October, tragic events of October 7th. First of all, we see how the Jewish people are regaining strength, rebuilding, and one by one we are eliminating all those evil actors and enemies that participated in October 7th, and we will not stop until we have complete victory. We reflect the light of Hashem in this world. We show the world, and most importantly ourselves, how in the darkest hours we discover our faith and shine even brighter. And finally, in a world which is ravaged with hatred and anti-Semitism, we show the world once again what standing up for justice, morality, and goodness looks like in the face of adversity, in the face of evil. And like the moon, God said 3,300 years ago, you, the Jewish people, will always be like the light of the moon. I have a colleague who's a campus rabbi, Chabad campus rabbi on an Ivy League university, and he sent me something very moving. He sent out a questionnaire to all of his students, and one of the questions, the first in the series of questions, was, do you put on tefillin every day? And he sent me a picture from his computer of the student's response. The student marked the box that said no, he does not put on tefillin every day. The next question was, if you were given a gift of a pair of tefillin, would you start putting it on every day? And here the student checked the box that said yes. And then the third question on the questionnaire form was, why would you put on tefillin every day if you were given a pair? And here the student very movingly wrote, I would start wrapping tefillin every day because the Bibis children, Ariel and Kfir, will never have the opportunity to put on tefillin when they become bar mitzvah, and therefore I would do it for them. Wow, this is the Jewish people. We shine bright even in the darkest nights. We reflect God's light in this world. And yes, we always renew our strength. Even when we are diminished like the light of the moon at the end of the month, we renew ourselves and gain strength, brightness, and momentum. Have a wonderful day.